Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz chess game number 67, where I opened with d4 and my opponent played the Budapest gambit. So let's check it out. I think this is another first for the channel in the Budapest. So we start out with a normal looking queen's pawn opening, knight f6, c4, and then here's the move e5. This is the Budapest gambit. And you can take it. It's the thing is, you can't really hold on to this pawn, or if you do, you suffer some positional damage, messed up pawn structure and stuff. There was a game like that recently, but at the top level, there was a game like that where Aronian played the white side and tried to hold on to the pawn. Didn't get such a great position out of the opening. So the general theory is that you don't want to hold on to the pawn at any cost. You hold on to it for a few moves, and then you use that. You use black's attempt to regain the pawn as a way to improve your development. So knight to g4, knight e4 is also possible, but knight g4, which my opponent played, is the most common move, directly attacking and regaining the pawn. And I always played knight f3 here, but I see that bishop f4 is a move. So let's. I'm going to check this out here. I'm keeping the engine on. In this game, there were no great tactical quiz opportunities, so we'll just keep the engine running there for some insight as to what's going on. So suppose bishop f4 is played. This defends the pawn, and knight c6, continuing to attack it, and then knight f3. Now this, I suppose, could have transposed. And then bishop b4 check, and knight b d2. So is this a line where you try to hold on to the pawn at any cost? Let's see, queen e7, continuing to attack the pawn, and then, yeah, e3, giving up and letting him take the pawn. So that's a typical kind of line in the Budapest. And this pin here on the bishop can be, of the bishop on the knight, can be kind of annoying. And there are some tactics in there, but let's go back and take a look at the game. So I played knight f3 right away, and in the score sheet he played knight c6, and bishop c5 is the move I was expecting. That's the most common one. And after bishop c5, then you play e3, and it starts to look similar to the other line, but you've blocked your own bishop in, so that has its own drawbacks. And this pawn comes under attack, which is a little bit annoying, hard to defend sometimes. So if you've got a pawn on e3 blocking in this bishop, and you bring your knight to d2 to defend that pawn over there, if it's necessary, then your bishop on c1 is totally blocked in. So that's some of the annoying things that can happen in the Budapest gambit. So knight c6 is not the most challenging way to play it, and it looks like I could follow up with bishop f4 here. But, you know, again, I don't like the pin, so I played the move a3, and now we're pretty much out of the opening book. And the computer rates this as only slightly better for white, probably because the a3 is a bit of a slow move, not the most challenging move. But let's see how the game continues. He takes the pawn, I exchange knights, and then I play e4. So maybe knight c3 is the computer suggestion, but I don't know, seemed kind of logical to me. But you can see that it's more or less equal around here, and it stays this way for quite a while. But I think we're all playing logical developing moves here. And I was a bit undecided how to defend this pawn. He's now attacking it with the bishop and the knight. And computer likes queen b3. Yeah, it took me a while to find that move. I was wondering if there was various ways to ignore the threat. And knight d5, but knight d5 followed by c6 is a bit annoying. The computer line, knight d5, c6, f4, hitting his knight, and then some exchanges. So anyway, queen b3, so just defending that pawn, but also attacking here. And now b6, probably unnecessary, because I'm not really going to take that pawn. My queen is needed to defend my own c-pawn. So this gives me a chance to develop, and when he plays a move like c6, it weakens this d6 pawn and gives me something to play for. Although the computer thinks the position is still very even, and it's not until right around here. Yeah, it thinks b5 was a mistake. You can see some other moves maybe were not the best, but b5 is a definite mistake, and it's because of the line I start to play here. Knight takes, and bishop takes. See, we're all playing the computer moves, and then f4 hitting the bishop. Bishop goes back to g7, and then I can take the pawn, and he takes back is the best. And then he's left with this isolated pawn here that I can attack. The way he played it, bishop e6, is similar. Now I should have just moved my queen here, but yeah, queen to d3. He's going to take that pawn anyway, and I just want to grab this pawn instead. But I didn't want to give up the b pawn here, and so I was trying to hold on to everything. And it turns out with best play, it's not possible to hold on to everything. But here, let's follow through the recommended line. Say queen to b4 is the best way to hold on to things. And then he can play c5, kicking the queen, or he can take the pawn. And then I can play rook takes d6. If he takes, I can take. And if he plays c5, he's just giving up. And I have an extra pawn over here. c5, queen d2, bishop b3. So he doesn't even, yeah, and the pawn is defended. So that would be a way basically to hold on to the pawn. I tried this bishop c4 move, and it does not work. You can see he just needs to take the bishop, which he didn't play. And if he takes the bishop, then now he can grab this pawn with his queen. And my pawn here on b2 is hanging. So well, I can trade queens and grab this pawn, but he can grab this pawn. And so this is nothing. This is a dead even game, and that's the way he should have played it. So instead of we're here, bishop c4. Instead of taking my bishop, he played c takes b5, and now I have the advantage again. So I can take his bishop and then win this e6 pawn with check, and then I have time to defend the b pawn, which in this case I chose to defend by putting my bishop here on d4. So he attacks my queen, but I have time to throw in this check. Exchange of bishops with check, and then get my queen out of trouble. So I've got a good advantage, and I maintain it up until this point. And I was running a little low on time, and I decided to get the queens off. But in terms of the best play, that is just not the right way to play this position. So let's look at a computer line here for how white should really proceed. You know, there are dangers here. My back rank, if these rooks ever leave, my king can get mated here. So I need to create some space in the long run and make sure I don't get mated. And, you know, it takes time to worry about all these threats. But the best way is just push ahead with this extra pawn. This pawn is backwards and it's not going anywhere. And what can he play? Well, first of all, what happens if he takes that pawn? It says you can take back with the rook or the queen. Let's try the rook. It's getting a little scary, but his king has become exposed. So he runs the king to the corner. In fact, it looks like king, if you look at this, king h8 is the only move. Rook f8 looks like it's losing horribly. How does that happen? Rook f8, rook df1, rook takes f5, queen takes f5. It's amazing when you have a number like +9, but I guess the mating threats are too strong. I mean, the threat here is check, and well, what's he play? Queen c7. So queen g5 check. King goes to h8, only move now. Queen to f6 check. King goes here, is only move. King g8. Then h3, so I don't get checkmated. And then there's just this threat of rook up and over, it looks like. Rook e8 to attack the pawn. Rook f5. Queen g7 to stop the checkmate, but rook g5, you know, gives up the queen for a rook. And so finally, after how many moves? Yeah, I mean, you can see there's a lot of moves there before it becomes evident that white is really winning. But just visually looking at this, you can see as far back as rook takes f5 here, the king is all exposed. So I think that's the idea. You push that f5 pawn, and if he trades it off, You know, he ends up exposing his king, and you get a devastating attack with the heavy pieces. And you just have to be careful you don't get mated on the back rank while you're doing that. So one way to play it, yeah, f5. So instead of g takes f5, and let's back up. After f5, taking the pawn is not the best way to play. It recommends queen c7, say. And then rook c1, chasing the queen, or f6. Let's try f6, check. And he can't take it. So king goes to f8, best square. And rook to c1 now, chasing queen, queen d7. And I guess it's just the strength of the awkward position of black's king, the advanced f-pawn. You can push ahead to f7 now, it says. Yeah, it's defended by a rook, and I mean, the rook is defending it, and the queen doesn't want to trade for a rook. So anyway, that would be the best way to play. Just push ahead with those pawns. Let's back up to the game. We're at this position. Instead of playing f5, I just took the easy way out. I traded queens, but now actually black has significant drawing chances. You see, this has dropped down to half a pawn advantage to white. And often in a king and rook and pawn endgame, that's just not enough to win. So the game continued for a ways, and you know, I maintained this one pawn advantage. And here he just ran out of time. So it does get tricky. The computer was recommending rook f2 as a way to play this. You know, that would stop me. My plan originally was to play h3. And then walk my king out this way and activate it that way. But now I have to defend this f-pawn, so I play g3. And now my king is sort of stuck back here. And the game would continue. So I have this advantage, actually 2 pawns of an advantage, but this is only rated at 0.5 or 0.6 in my favor. So obviously going to be a difficult game to win if we both had enough time to play it out. So anyway, that wraps it up for this game. Hope you guys got something out of that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I'll see you again later. Bye.